stream in a very long time. I am guessing you guys are wondering why I'm doing a live stream today instead of a video. I know that I wanted to upload a interview episode last week, but I never got a chance to. But I think I have a special treat that well makes up for it. I have a special guest joining me, someone who is in the political sphere of the influencer world who is just starting to get more acknowledgement. She's worked with some people in politics, including people running for Senate and Congress. And so, without further ado, we're going to be talking about what it means to break out of echo chambers. I'm so excited for this conversation because I feel like for a long time myself, I was trapped in there, but I've rambled on long enough. Lydia is joining us now. Lydia, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sure I look like an absolute beach bum right now, but I think that's okay given the circumstance.
It's all right. You look good to me. Don't worry about it.
Sounds good to me. Hey, so here's a fun question for you. You answer this for me, okay? So you have a YouTube channel and you have interviewed a couple political figures, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Why did you go down this route? Like we because everyone talks about staying in the echo chamber for too long or breaking free out of certain ideas. Like for you in particular, why did you go this way?
Well, I went this way because I got tired of going to the ballots and not knowing who I'm voting for. Just the name or a name on like a a yard sign. It just doesn't tell me enough. I know what they want to run for. I don't know if they understand the job detail. I don't know if they understand what the people expect from them. So I wanted to give the politician that's actually running a chance to let the public know, what they stand for, what their political views are. Um, just, really get to know the candidate before we go to the ballots and try to figure out if we want them to run for us or not.
I like that a lot. Do you think in your journey, because we've had some of these conversations before, um, that some of these things you believe in have been instilled in your children and the work
Yes,
they are doing?
yes. And so, with that being said, I have my young sons, Deion Washington and Keon Washington. They are labeled as the Washington brothers out here in the political world in Ohio. They are activists, and what they're trying to do is enlighten young men and young women to try to see themselves in a seat of an office that they are able to run for. Like you can run for mayor at a very young age. So if you're already thinking about, occupying a political seat, they want to show them that there is a way to make it happen. So that's what they're out there doing. I'm
I
so
love
proud
that.
of them as well. Me too.
Oh, well, I'm sure that you're very proud of them. I find it interesting because for the first time in um, in a long time, right? We've actually broken out of the minority status of representation in the House and in the Senate. We have a plurality still of people over the age of 50, but now uh, we're at over half, just barely. I think it's like 51%, so we're just like barely there. But we finally have
Yeah.
a lot of younger voices, including I never thought I'd say this, but apparently Generation X is now considered young because we we have silent generation members of Congress and members of the Senate. And so it's great to see young voices, including people like you
Yeah.
coming into the sphere.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that I am Generation X. And still, included me in the young category. That was cutesy. Thank you.
You're
But
welcome.
no, no, but yeah, a lot of times when we look at the political people that have been running, they have these old fashioned styles, old fashioned views, and so much has changed in the modern world. Those things need to change as well. I'm not saying change the foundation that America stands on as far as the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. I'm not saying don't do those things. What I'm saying is we need to uh, have more modern views about what's going on, because the things that's happening back in the day, they're not happening anymore, especially uh, with the financial standpoint of America where it is today.
We,
I think that
yeah.
has a lot to do with why we're in the position that we're in now for that old thinking.
Well, and you and I have had several conversations because my background is a little bit all over the place. I come from a world of being heavily involved from both Republicans, Democrats, and independents, and having my own journey. And you can correct me at any time, but I believe from what we've talked about, you're more on the conservative side of the spectrum. For me, I'm more on the libertarian side of the spectrum. And I think it's important, even if you disagree on any given issue, to meet in the middle. Like a
Yes.
lot of people will say, "Oh, we can't compromise with fascists. We can't compromise with socialists," and I hear that from both Democrats and Republicans all the time, and it drives me insane because some of the things the more socialist sides of the Democrats are proposing, I don't think most conservative people necessarily 100% disagree, right? But being able to
Yeah.
compromise and have a conversation is very important because that's what's not occurring right now.
Right. That is absolutely true. And that is a big problem. Communication is key in any relationship. And this is a relationship that it has turned the ears off to one side, they're not listening, and then the other, it's like the sound, the talking is bouncing off walls instead of being listened to. So that's a big problem, for us right now.
Right, right. So one of my questions for you is, if you had the choice here to do anything in regards to communication, what are two things you would do to try and fix that? Because I feel like the communication barrier, like you said, is one of the biggest, if not the biggest barrier most people face when it comes into getting involved politically.
Well, that's kind of what Trap House Politics is working on, trying to bridge the gap of communication. Usually you get the you get pointed in the direction of the website. You can leave a email, or you can, write a letter to the office of the official that is elected. But we need to talk about the person that is trying to get in office. How do we get in contact with them? One of the ways I'm working on that with Trap House Politics is I'm going to be able to do just like we're doing right now, have live streams with these politicians. That is something that is a new idea and is something that I would like to implement into my platform so that we can open up bridge the gap of communication. That would be one thing. And then the other thing is actually having a voice when the election is being held. Like, I don't know what those conventions are called. When you go on the channel, you can see them make taking votes where the Democrats and the Republicans are voting against certain things. And I would like to be able to bridge that gap to where the people would be able to voice their opinion a little bit better than what we're doing. Because what we're doing is using a representative, and sometimes that representative is not listening to us. So if we could just also have a voice along with our representative to see if the representative is, with the people, if they're saying what the people want to be said, we'll be able to, see that align with each other. I'm going to have to cut this short. I'm so sorry because my battery is running low. I do not want to end this live like in a bad way. So, you know.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no worries. Hopefully you find a charger and you can come back, but I'll be here for a little while.
Yeah.
It was wonderful chatting with you. I'm guessing you're gonna have to leave right
Thank
now.
you. Yeah, well, yes, before the phone dies, I just don't want it to die out
Gotcha.
'cause I really tried to get that situation together before I came out here, but this is the best I could do, so I apologize.
Well, everybody, this is the wonderful Miss Lydia Ball. Do you have any social media that you would like
Thank you.
to shout out here? I can go ahead and add some notes when we're done here and give people, the credit that they
Okay.
deserve.
All right, thank you. Yes, I would like to shout out um, my Gmail address would be traphousepolitics, the number one, the word or the number two at gmail.com. You can leave me an email if you want to reach out to me and join the show at all. Um, or if you have any videos that you would like for me to talk about on the show, we could do that. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and all right.
That's wonderful.
It's gone.
Well, Miss Lydia, you have yourself a marvelous afternoon, and we will catch you later. Well, everybody, that was Miss Lydia Ball. I got acquainted with her at the school. There were some very wonderful moments that I've had with her. I can't talk enough good about her. One of the things that got me engaged in having these types of conversations, especially on politics again, was the conversation I had with her. One of the things that we talked about was what it means to break out of an echo chamber. And I think that a lot of people, including myself, we get trapped in these ideas. Whether when we're growing up or when we get older, we get set in our ways or we get, you know, kind of put in a position where we always have to be right. I've always believed that you never convince someone you're right by calling them an idiot. Um, for example, right? If your small child goes up to the edge of a stove and it's on, they're not going to know immediately, especially if they're very little. They're not going to know that heat can cause burns. They will grab that pan, that pot that's really, really hot, and they will get burned. And hopefully, they don't get liquid or whatever's in the pan spilt on them. The scary thing about that situation is that just like that child, we don't know everything and we put ourselves in the same exact situations time and time again, and we expect people to change and conform to what we need. In a perfect world, we would be able to teach that child before they got burned and say, hey, that's hot, be careful. But not everybody always listens, and I think there's some unfortunate circumstances in that, right? um, that right there is a huge issue for me. A lot of people know that I served a Mormon mission. And I served this mission years and years ago. It makes me feel so old when I think about it. I served my Mormon mission from 2013 to 2015. Um, and in those moments, the things that I learned were very transformative. I learned a lot about myself. I was grappling with my identity, my sexual orientation, and everything else. But the one thing that I always fell back on was I can do this because this is the will of the Lord. Even though when I started my mission, I did not believe in the Mormon theology or any of that. At the time, I thought it was a bunch of hoopla, and my plan was to go on my mission. And then when I got home after 2 years of service, to fall off the face of the earth. That was my plan. As an 18-year-old, I thought that was pretty rock solid. That didn't happen. Instead, my journey was very transformative. I had this acknowledgement, this awakening, and I realized that there was more to life. As I changed and I adapted and I overcame all of my challenges, I eventually did come out. I walked away from the faith, and it wasn't because I found it to be any less true, because at the time when I did come out, I actually did believe in the faith. But as I evolved and became who I am today, it really changed my perception on the way things are. I think that everyone gets stuck in that kind of cycle. What does this have to do with politics? Because when I was a kid, I was very liberal. I was very, and I think a lot of kids are, right? You don't have money as a child for the most part, and you rely on others. So you have these very liberal and socialist ideas. And so I figured, the Democrats were always in the right and that the Republicans were always in the wrong. When I served my mission, that flipped. I don't think it flipped for the reasons most people think, but as everything changed, as I changed, I quickly acknowledged that it was no longer going to work for me. And one of the striking things that happened was that I started getting swept up in the right wing politics, Charlie Kirk, Donald Trump. I helped Trump get elected in 2016. I remember, going out and knocking doors. I remember getting elected as a delegate. I remember doing all of these things for the Republican Party, and then I remember doing the exact same thing in 2020 for Joe Biden. All of these things kind of culminated together, right? And then I had one of the most amazing opportunities working on the RFK Jr. campaign. And that's when I started to realize that the way we think about politics is very unhealthy. The Republicans are not good, nor are they bad. They are people with ideas, in many ways, flawed ideas. Democrats are very much the same way. They think about helping everybody else, but they don't think about the consequences of helping everybody you come across. There's this idea in Buddhism where someone doesn't necessarily pick themselves up by their bootstraps, but they learn what pain is so that way they can adapt and overcome. I think that's how we have to see modern politics. When you look at the way we do things, you start to realize very quickly that all of us are in very unique situations, right? Every single one of us has a different background, a different story to tell. It's why I started the Platypus Playground. It's why I'm having this conversation right now. And whether or not this live stream gets a single view, I don't know, and nor do I care. But I do care about one thing, and that is sharing my perspective because that's all I can share. I do not think often about how I don't think often at all actually in regards to what it means to be a Republican or a Democrat. I do understand, being involved in your community, trying to make a difference and trying to stand up for what you believe in. But I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is understand who you are. And I did not. I did not. I literally, for over a decade, suffocated my true self, my true identity, and what I believed. And it didn't do anyone any favors at all. And one of the craziest experiences, and I'll never forget it, is when we were finishing up the RFK Jr. campaign just before he dropped out of the race. This one is a hard one for me to tell because I met so many wonderful people on that campaign in 2024. Um, but we're all working together and we're doing all of this canvassing and we're out there handing out flyers and we're talking to people. We're talking about regenerative agriculture. we're talking about being responsible to the environment and standing up for what's right. Do I think RFK Jr. has sold out recently? Yes, 100%. There's no way you could convince me otherwise that he has done anything other than sell out. And I think that we are also in another turning point. This turning point, however, is very, very different. And I guess we could use the joke "Turning Point USA" is a sham, but I think that that diatribe's kind of old and tired. But this is where we're at. We're in this place where everyone has to be right. No one's wrong. Everyone has all the answers. The only person with answers is you. You live by your own story. You adapt to your own identity and you change the way you see things based on the environment in which you are in. And that's the truth. It's a hard truth, but it is the truth. And that's what makes the truth so hard, right? It makes truth subjective at that point. There's more than one perspective, there's more than one journey, there's more than one story to tell. As I escaped my echo chamber, I realized, especially at this party, because at this point, RFK Jr. had officially announced he was going to be backing Trump, dropped out of the race. Okay. The day before a rally was held in Utah, I believe at the Delta Center, in downtown Salt Lake City. Um, they decided that at least the campaign specialists and the entire campaign team, I can't remember everyone's names. I think there was a gal named Christine. She was absolutely fabulous. One of my favorite people I've ever met. Had this gorgeous condo in downtown Salt Lake. Um, but she hosted everybody for one of these special events. And I met some really wonderful people. People like I kid you not, I met a trans Satanist who was a Bernie supporter back in 2020. I met people who had voted for Biden multiple times, people that had worked on Trump campaigns, people that were lawyers, doctors, tradesmen. I met with so many wonderful people across many, many different ethnicities and cultures. People are just people with different cultures, and I think it's beautiful. It was in that moment that I realized the way I was living before I could never go back to. Christianity is one of those things that sucks you in, makes you more conservative, it does all of these things. Obviously, there's exceptions to that rule. And I've always seen my life in a spiritual lens. Um, and that's partially due to the fact of how I grew up, where I grew up. And obviously, that's also attributed to the environment we are in now. It's crucial for us to acknowledge that all of us involved here start to work on each other. We start to help each other out. And it's one of those things that I think is very important. But as we talk more about politics, we're in 2026. The next election is 2028. We're experiencing midterms as well. We have all of these things happening, but that doesn't give us the right to be rude, inconclusive, or dismissive of other people's beliefs. And at this point in time, it's more important now than ever to be kind to one another and respect one another's boundaries. I've always thought about all of this kind of stuff. And it gets wilder, right? Because everyone starts to do crazy things. People start thinking about what it means to be human. And then they get stuck in their own rabbit holes. Um, I think that everyone is unique, and because of that, I really think we all should enjoy the moment. But the more I talk about this stuff, it just it kind of starts to 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 hurt my head a little bit. Um, but this is where it gets important. Okay, everyone who has a political idea, stand up for what you believe in. Go out there, support the candidates you want to. Share your beliefs with everybody. It doesn't mean you have to agree. One of the good people that I met at school, her name's Tina Pierce. Wonderful. She's what I would call a spiritual activist, not a political one like we had talked about with Lydia. Um, and we disagreed on almost everything, but she always told me that God loves you. Do I still get cringed out every time I hear that? A little bit, but that's okay. I think that everyone has their own story to tell and their own reasons for what they do. So the question becomes, are you going to let everyone control you and tell you what to think, or are you going to change the way you see things? Dean Withers and Parker from Parker Gets a Job, um, or Parker Get a Job, or whatever their YouTube channels are called. They are absolutely wonderful YouTubers, very, very brilliant young minds. And one of the issues I have with them and their content, especially Parker, is he looks at having facts as the only reason people choose things. You could give someone all of the facts in the world and they would still not change their mind. It makes for great shock content. It makes for great content. But I really believe that you need to let people make decisions for themselves. A good example of this here is so my mother-in-law just had her furnace replaced, and I told her that she should do a two-stage variable speed furnace because they're better for the environment, better for health. Her furnace was from the early 2000s, late 90s. So we're going over all of this stuff and we're talking about ways we can improve all of this and her situation. And one of the decisions that she made was saving $1,000. Do I fault her for saving money? No. I'm glad that she did. But what I found really tragic is that she literally jumped over a penny to pick up a dollar. Or pick what is the phrase? Jumped over a dollar to pick up a penny. There we go. And the tragedy in this is that these systems are kind of getting phased out in some ways, all because they're inefficient, specifically because they're inefficient. And I think that over the next decade or so, that'll continue to change. And so when she realized that the warranty was a little weak, she got a little upset. I don't blame her. I would be upset too. Um, but why did I say that? I can't even remember. Anyway, but I think you get the point. Like if you listen to all of the facts, hey, this is better for your health. This is better for economic reasons. This is going to save you money in 3 years from now and you're not going to have to worry about it. You're older. Think about blah blah blah. You could give every good reason in the book and someone will not change their mind. And it's sad because when you look at channels like I said with Dean Withers and Parker, they go out and they challenge Trump supporters on why they believe what they believe. And I've heard some really tragic stories. But people pick things not just for their own beliefs, but sometimes people pick things because they don't know any different, don't know any better. And there is a way to educate people. But by calling them a moron calling out their beliefs as fraught with failure points doesn't do anything constructive. And maybe that makes me an absolute hippie, Buddhist, weirdo, whatever. I don't care. I really don't. I know a lot of people would get upset with me in that kind of moment, right? But I think that we have to be kinder to one another. We have to give ourselves a little bit more patience. We need to understand that not everything is perfect or wrapped in a nice little bow or package for our consumption. But kindness is the fastest way to win. Not just to bring yourself peace, but also to help others understand who you are. I've always believed that. And as we go into the next political season, everyone, please, please be patient, be kind with yourself, and understand that regardless of how the future pans out, everyone has a place to go. Everyone has a piece of the puzzle to just be. I don't know. What did you guys think of this? This is my first live stream in a long time, and I hope to do a lot more of these in the future. But for right now, I'll catch you guys later.